Well, hi folks, it's Tango Oscar Mike. It is a balmy 18 degrees out, which is perfect because the ground is frozen, which means I can get my truck down into the yard and tow the heavy crank-up mast down into the yard, and should still be able to get my truck out. So I'm going to hook this up. We're going to take it down the yard. I'd like to get this set up. I got to build the yagi antenna and everything, and then try to get it set up so I could use it for winter field day, and maybe even use it this weekend. But it's going to take some time to do. But first thing first, let's get it hooked up. All set. Okay, let's take her down. Let's take her down the hill. Don't want to forget my gloves there. So I got the trailer down here, and it's leveled side to side, but the front wheel, I need to dig a little hole for the front wheel to go in. It needs to be lower than it is right now, but I also need to make sure the supports for the back will still reach the ground. Let's check that. The mittens are nice, but you can't do anything with mittens on. So for the trailer, we have these support legs. There's those two. There's these two. And then there's these control arms. There's two short ones and two long ones. So I think with the long ones, if I put the long ones in, I think these legs are all the same size. We'll still have room, so that'll still work. Okay, so now let's dig a little hole for the front wheel and see if we can't get that in there. I should move the truck out of the way, but I'm just going to try to... Actually, give me the shovel. Give me the shovel. Maybe I can just do it with the shovel here. Okay, well, that GoPro battery went dead in no time at all. I've got the hole dug. I've got the tongue buried in there. As you can see, the yard is on quite a bit of a slope. I've got the support legs down here anchored in. I don't think I can put the front ones because I don't think the pin goes up far enough, but I'm going to try to get those anchored. If not, I may move these legs back here. That'll keep it from tipping left to right. I'll keep the trailer, I'll keep the crank down when I'm not using it, so it shouldn't be too problem. And down here at the bottom of the hill, we don't get a lot of wind. But I'm going to try to finish getting this set up. But when you're on a slope, you have to kind of make do with what you have. I need to loosen that ratchet strap because it's in the hole. These, as you can tell, are supposed to keep the trailer from tipping up that way once all the weight's on the tower. The tower is going to be tilted this way a little bit. I can't actually get the tongue deep enough in the ground. It's probably going to sink a little bit more, but it's not quite level. Side to side, it looks good. So I'm done with that. I can pull the truck up if I want to. Actually, I'll probably just shut it off. But now I can actually try to put together the yagi antenna. So now the next step would be to, hands are freezing. The next step is to get the rotator on and make sure the rotator is pointed in the right direction, and then try to get the antenna mounted on the rotator, which I think is going to be really hard by myself. But so you have to put the rotator on the mast, and then you have to make sure, set the rotator and make sure it's pointed in the same direction that the trailer is facing. So when you mount the mast on, you're lined up with the rotator box, otherwise it'll be off. So this is the rotomotator, and this should just go right on. This should not be a problem, unless somebody tightened all the bolts down for no reason. Attached to. So let's just see. There's the control box. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna have to stick my hands in my pocket for a little bit here or something. I'm losing dexterity. I'm having trouble. Okay, there's that. Ginormous control line, which we really don't need. Let's see. That plugs into there. And I have to start the truck to get the full wattage out of my panel there. This is pointing just a little bit past west. So if we put the antenna on it straight up and down, this is saying that it is pointing north. So if I release the brake, wrong way. That is matching. Let's see, 280. I think that's good. So it's also good that it lets me know that this control box is pulling less than 400 watts, because that's what that outlet is putting out right now. I don't, maybe it'll put out a little more if there's, once the mast is mounted and there's weight on there. So now I could mount the yagi, connect up, bring the yagi over here, mount it, connect the coax, and then try to mount it on the mast. Now, to mount it on the mast though, this has to be 8 feet in the air because the yagi's so tall. So this, I'll have to crank this up. I can actually measure it almost exactly 8 feet. Almost 10, because the anchor point is in the center of the beam. So 10 feet in the air, crank this up 10 feet. I might be able to pull the truck back, lean the yagi up against it, get it close, and then get it to go in this plate, which seems to be stuck. So I need the yagi to go in there. Doesn't look like it'll fit, but I know it does. So I need to disconnect the box now. I can disconnect the box, put it back in the suitcase to protect it. Okay, look at that. It's up. Looks a little crooked. It does look a little crooked. Maybe it's just an optical illusion. Maybe it might be tipped a little bit. That's probably something I could fix. But my nephew came over. I tried to get it mounted on the mast by myself, and I couldn't do it, man. It was just wobbling all over the place, and I almost dropped it really hard one time. So my nephew stopped over and did help me do it. It's the next day. As you can see, got the antenna all up. I think I said with my nephew stopped over and helped me get it mounted on the mast. It's not real heavy, but it's just very unwieldy to get set up. I think it's going to be good. We're supposed to only get about an inch of rain today, or an inch of snow today, but we are looking at getting something like 8 to 12 inches overnight, which should be fun. Who knows, maybe I'll be able to make a snow cave this week like I did last year. That'd be good. I'd like to make it a little bit better, so I can actually use it more than I can. The problem with is, and you can tell from the trailer, the way the trailer's sitting, my backyard is sloped. I don't think there's a level spot around here. There's a spot over here that's not level, but it's a little bit flatter. I think I'm going to try setting up a shelter just to keep out of the wind and everything, and I'm going to try my new chair. I have my new chair, the Heliox ground chair. I might give that a shot. I'm just going to make sure that the coax will reach, which it looks like it definitely will. If the coax will reach up here, I think I'm going to set up right up here next to where the tripod is and operate from there. But we'll see. Well, I got a little bit of a wind shelter there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this chair out. This is the new chair I got for Christmas. I want to try to see if it'll work in here. This is the Heliox ground chair, and the difference between this and my old chair is that this chair sits much lower on the ground. As you can see, there's no legs that stick up. So you can use it in much lower shelters than like the other tent. You sit much lower to the ground, which I'm okay with because I usually just set my gear on the ground anyhow. And so when you're using this type of chair, you can use it inside a shelter. So let me move my pack out of the way just for a second. And let me give this a try. I still don't think that's going to be tall enough. But if I pin this up, you can see I still have headroom, so I can actually use this in here. Hi, Augie. You checking it out? So, it'd be better if I was sitting the other way with my feet down in the lower end, but I think that'll work. I do need to put a piece of cord on this and just stretch this out. So I got the roof propped up a little bit. I am touching it back. I could guy this back out a little bit more. I should have brought my other trekking pole out with me, but oh well. I got the coax for the antenna here. So let me grab my radio real quick. This is showing 1-to-1 SWR. So let me do a sweep of the band. This is showing pretty flat actually. So
okay, right, and Joe checks into the regards right back at you.
So
Breaking with KQ6 IU. Alright, okay, there was a Whiskey 1 station. Give me a call.
the antenna's doing good.
My condolences, sir.
The rotator on the antenna, I was able to use the inverter in my truck to turn the antenna. And it's only a 400 watt inverter. This is a cheap Harbor Freight inverter, but it's supposed to be a 750 watt. Now I know this causes RF interference, but I only have to have it on when I'm rotating the antenna. I don't want to leave it on and drain the battery. I did bring out my 12 amp hour battery just in case, but I want to see how much power it takes using my little meter here to turn the antenna. I'm just curious out of my own curiosity, so for future reference, if we wanted to use this for field day or something, I would know how much power I needed to have to turn the antenna. So I may run the control cable up into this little tent here and do all that, but first I need to go check on Augie and see where he's at, make sure he's not getting into too much trouble. We were outside yesterday for quite a while, and he was pretty sore when he went in, so I'm gonna go check on Augie. Okay, so I just did a test with the rotator and the control box for the rotator. It does create a bunch of RF right here next to the radio and everything, so but you turn it as soon as you turn it off. Same with the inverter. I turned the antenna a little bit and back, and my amps peak, my watts peak was 132. My amps peak was 10.5 amps to turn the antenna. But yeah, so that works. So if I need to turn the antenna into another direction, I can do that real quick and then shut everything back off. So yep, I think now I'm going to try to make some contacts and go from there. November 3 Whiskey Sierra. November 3 Whiskey Sierra, I have you 5-4 into Pennsylvania.
Copy that, I've got you 5555, report kilo 0304.
QSL, thanks for the activation. Have a great day.
7-3, thanks for running us down, we appreciate it. This is Whiskey Echo 4 Delta X-ray QRZ. Kilo 0 Kilo, Whiskey Hotel, Parks on the Air.
November 3 Whiskey Sierra.
November 3 Whiskey Sierra, QSL.
QSL, I have you 5-9 into Pennsylvania.
Roger the 5-9 in Pennsylvania. I have you at 5-9 here in the Kilo 1214 as well, QSL.
QSL, thanks for the activation. 73.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for hunting me down today. Have a good afternoon. QRZ, Kilo 0 Kilo, Whiskey Hotel, Parks on the Air.
I wanted to come outside today and try a couple of different things. I think I accomplished everything I wanted to do. I hunted a few parks with the antenna on 20 meters, which is great. It's actually a 10, 15, and 20 meter antenna. I'm probably going to be using that on winter field day along with a end fed for 80 meters. I'll probably run an end fed for 80 meters down over the hill away from that antenna, run a nice long piece of coax and run another antenna. I was able to test the rotator, and using the rotator with a off a battery and a little inverter, and I pulled, let's see, 12 amps peak, 145 watts peak, and I used let's see, how many watt hours did I use? Oh, 0.349 watt hours. So I could use my 3 amp hour battery to run the rotator when I wanted to as well. But that's pretty cool to be able to do that and use it in the field. Now that I'm using that antenna trailer because that's what I have. But that thing is so heavy and so awkward to move. That antenna is so hard to set up. I think if you were looking for a nice portable antenna that you could take out and set up for field day and stuff like that, I wouldn't recommend one of these trailers, at least not anymore. I don't think. I think there's smaller and better options. I don't know how this would compare to like a hex beam, like the new Buddy Pull hex, that nice little small hex beam. That would be really interesting to see, maybe to do some whisper tests between the two of them and see how they did. Yeah, setting this trailer up and everything is a bit of a pain, but I wanted to do it for winter field day, so that was good. Now obviously this is prep for winter field day, so when winter field day comes, I'll make sure I have a full tank for the little buddy heater. That really makes a difference. It really just helps take the chill off and makes it so much more comfortable, even with just something like this simple tarp shelter. Keeping the wind off me, and had that, I could feel the heat in here, and it's just such a more pleasant experience being outside. So it's kind of like your poor man's hut tent. If it was really cold, I would definitely drop the other end down. I don't know if I'm going to use this for winter field day, whether or not I'm going to use my little tent. I have an actual little river country tent that I have all set up, and I know the chair, as you can see, I really don't need that much height for a chair, especially this chair. What's nice about this chair is it has the square bottom on it, so it doesn't sink into the ground. It isn't a problem today because the ground's solid, but I've done other Parks on the Air activation where my cheaper Marchway chair with the legs that come down will press into the ground, and I've actually fallen over in the chair just because it sinks so far down into the ground. Now I will say that getting in and out of this chair is a little bit harder. You kind of have to plant a hand down on the ground and just kind of roll into it. It's comfortable, it's wider. If you look at the two chairs side by side, this chair, it actually seems wider to me, like you have more room in the chair. But it's comfortable. I'm sitting on my Z-seat pad again. When it's cold outside, just sitting in the chair, you will feel that come through the bottom of the chair. Ooh. And my stick just fell out of the tarp. The wind blew and puffed it up and blew the stick out of the tarp. But yeah, this tarp is a cheap tarp. What it misses is it's missing some extra guy out points in the middle at the quarter hash mark, so you can really make this a really nice tent. If the weather was worse, obviously I would probably drop this down a lot lower and try to close the entrance off as much as I could to keep the weather out of it. But I'm just playing out here. Just wanted to put up a shelter to keep me out of the wind a little bit. But yeah, good day. I'm going to pack up the coax and stuff and the control line and get it back to the trailer just so it doesn't get bad weather on it. I have the tower raised up the whole way. I'm going to drop it back down low again. I am going to rotate it back west before I go in. So let's do that. So it's pointing directly west. It's nice being able to use that little inverter to do that. And it's nice to know that I was able to pull 10 amps, actually 12 amps through this little inverter that I have off of this 12 amp hour battery. So that's awesome. That's good to know. With it being super cold out, I am a little concerned about the battery getting cold. The battery's getting cold, so that's why another reason to have heat out here. You do have to take care of these batteries. If they get too cold, they don't function as well as they should, and you can't recharge them when they're cold. So I'm going to pack stuff up and probably get going and head on into the house here, get something to eat, and thanks for joining me on this experiment and playing with the Yagi crank-up tower in my backyard here. So, hey, this is Tango Oscar Mike, 73. Take care.
Tango Oscar Mike.
Hey, it's Tango Oscar Mike. This is the day after about 8 inches of snow, maybe a little more. It drifted about 2 feet around the house. I got the plow out. I tried to get my snowblower going. It ran, but the blades wouldn't turn. Something's wrong with the mechanism that the safety mechanism that lets the blades turn. The switch or something's bad. So I really needed the snowblower, but I couldn't use it. I did my driveway, my neighbor's 3-car garage driveway that's like 60 feet long. It took forever. The ATV couldn't even push all the snow. I had to take it in little chunks. And I buried the ATV in a ditch up here, trying to plow so the mailman could get through. And had to dig it out and wiggle and get it all out. But as you can see from the front of the house, what it's like here in PA. Augie's only been out for a few minutes. Don't worry, he's not getting too cold. He was just out for a few minutes, and while I finished and shot a little video, and then he'll be going in. He's actually trying to get in the house. So, but we're gonna go in now, get warm, and maybe I'll play some radio or something. I don't know. We'll see. Come on, bud. Yeah, he's ready to go in just after 5 minutes.